to This Podcast is for Nerds. We're here with a very special edition. We have another interview here, another special interviewee. And right now, Calvin, are you ready to roll for initiative?
I am. I should have fucking got the die out.
You should have, but you didn't.
Yeah.
Are you ready to roll for initiative? Who are you? Why are you here? Tell us your name and spin us a tale.
Hi there. I am Paul Kolby, and I am by no means a professional, but I am a nerd that is very interested in Dungeons and Dragons. More than that, tabletop role-playing games in general. I am a game master per se. I have done it a few times live on Twitch, and I've done it for multiple different campaigns for years. And that's what I am here to talk to you about.
Absolutely professional.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
All right.
I agree, because you've done a few. So let's talk a bit about. So first of all, Paul's a dear friend of mine, probably one of my oldest friends, I think.
Vice versa, yeah.
Yeah, because I've known you since so you knew my cousin before me.
Which goes into the history of me playing tabletop games. Honestly, he was
he the...
So your cousin was one of the first people I ever played with, and he was actually one of my first dungeon masters.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
He's a great dungeon master. That's really cool. So we met at, it must have been one of his birthday parties.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was like super casual. The first time was super casual, but I think like the first time we ever actually interacted was literally starting a band together.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're big into music, and then I don't know if we could talk about it, and I can cut it if not. So that was like way before I had done D&D maybe like one time at that point.
Yeah, I know what's funny is I specifically remember, and that's just how my ADHD and my hyper focus of things that I like. I love D&D and I love tabletop games, so like I remember the first time I met you, or the first time we ever talked about playing tabletop games, you'd specifically said that you were into Pathfinder.
Oh yeah. I had a friend that was running a Pathfinder campaign, because like that was around D&D 3.5, I think, is like what everyone was playing. And like my guy that like I was playing with at the time was not super into it, so we had switched over to Pathfinder, and I was really enjoying that. But yeah, so I mean, we invited Paul on because like he does the dungeon mastering for a campaign that I'm part of. Super long time friends, but we just wanted to talk about like what tabletop role playing is. It's something I've always wanted to do with you too. So I think in the future we'll do something like that. But yeah, just like talking a bit about like what it takes to get into tabletop games, what your history with it is. So maybe let's start there. So like you already kind of teased it. It was like with my cousin, but like what was your first experience with a tabletop role-playing game?
Yeah, so back in high school, I had this group of friends, and it was literally the Goon Squad, all the flunkies, and we would meet up and play Magic the Gathering once a week. And that's where it all really started. And that's where I figured out, that's where I really like zeroed in on like what nerd stuff I was actually into. Because that's when I found out that I'm not as much into like Magic the Gathering or card games as I thought I was. Yeah. But what I was super into, and I was always so confused that nobody else was like the flavor text and the art on all the cards and stuff. Like I cared more about like the how some dude was talking about how this giant worm like attacked his village, rather than the fact that the giant worm gets like +2 to defense. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And so from there, I think I was always pushing the group to be like, let's do D&D. But like, I don't know. I feel like it was always so daunting. We're in such a weird renaissance right now where like everybody is playing D&D and it's all over.
And let's be fair. Everyone's saying they're playing it because they don't want to not fit in. Their FOMO is so goddamn strong because of TikTok. Everyone's like, yeah, this is the user paint my nails black too. No, what camera am I looking at? No, you didn't. No, you didn't. If you've been blown out your Converse before, and don't say you did, if you've torn your own jeans, you're not a part of this conversation.
So it's like, yeah, the difference between it's weird because it's a lot of new people in the scene. But yeah, back then it was hard to get into it. It was hard to come by. Like now, like you can find those books in Meyer. And Target has the Dungeons and Dragons book. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And so, and even further back, it was even more not a thing. But I basically remember pushing all my friends to do more stuff like that. And eventually what it turned into was another mutual friend of me and Calvin's, my really good friend, Evan. I've known him since we were in diapers. Smartest guy I know. He decided that he was going to try and run something for us, but it wasn't Dungeons and Dragons. It was actually a homemade game that he made up on the fly based on Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like that was my first foray into it, was playing that, where we would all like pick like, all right, I'm going to be the water guy, you're going to be the earth guy, and we're going to go through this little story. But it's funny because it always devolved, because you could tell the idea and the heart was there, but like there was no rules or structure, why you buy the books and why you actually play the real game.
Yeah.
Where it would always just devolve into all of us just doing whatever we wanted, splitting up, and then like him just like letting it go off the rails and let us do whatever he wanted. So by the end of it, like one of us was a king, one of us was dead at the bottom of the ocean. Like it just went wild. And I remember thinking like, there's got to be like, I want it to be more like a video game, or I want there to be more consequences, more struggle, more narrative, more story, like that. And so I actually got away from it for a while after that, because again, he wasn't running it, and I just thought it was way too daunting. That's like, I was never meant to run D&D. That's what the smart people do. And so I got away from it, and then I later was living on my own in my 20s, and that same friend hit me up to play on online D&D, which is another really cool thing that I'm here to advocate for, is playing Dungeons and Dragons online.
You do like Roll20 or?
Yes.
Roll20 is a great resource. Like, it's insane how like it's completely free, and they've got like basically everything you need to do like a whole campaign. Like, it's great, and it was perfect during COVID. I don't know if you did like a bunch of like campaigns during COVID like it made it so easy to do that stuff online. So it's super cool.
Dude, Roll20 is awesome. And when that came along, it can like, it's so funny because it's so like, I feel like in people's heads when they think about playing online, they just think like on a Zoom call, just looking at everybody's faces and stuff, Yeah. But Roll20 makes it to where you can almost make it better than in person. Yeah. Especially like if you like, a lot of the assets are free, but even if you just shell out like $5, you can buy like a whole pack of cave scenes of some fantastic artist has made this crazy detailed battle map of the inside of a cave, and then they've already put the grid marks on it. And then you literally go to a website called Token Maker, and you just upload any picture you want. It makes it into a little circle token for you. You put that into your game, and then everybody literally logs on and just moves their little tokens around this map you have, and it takes so much work out of the dungeon master's hands. So online is a great way to go. That's what definitely got me way back into it, like full bore. I was like, okay, D&D's for me, because not only had we started playing online, but my friend Evan, it had been at least 8 years since the last time we played, and he had done a lot of research, and we all knew the books, and so we were playing 5th edition at that point. And that's when I was like, okay, so this is super user friendly now. This is super easy. Like, I just need to get these books, and I can do this. And so a couple years after that, I played in a few more games, kind of just like learning the ropes, and really trying to just like play with a bunch of different people running the games, like goading a bunch of my friends, like, hey, you should be the DM next, seeing what everybody does, seeing what everybody likes to do, and then just kind of taking that and culminating it into my own campaigns.
Do you feel like, you mentioned, just to rewind the clock a little bit, because I remember growing up with like Magic the Gathering, and like when it started coming about, it was right around the time I think I hit 9th grade, and I think I'm a little bit older than you guys, so I would say like 2008, 2009. So like the Yu-Gi-Oh cards were really big in my area, and I think a lot of that has to do with like the cartoons and like the exposure from it and things like that. And prior to that, cause like I could go to Target and get Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but like for Magic the Gathering cards, like you really had to like go to a game shop to find them. So growing up here, do you feel like was a lot of opportunity to get that? That's why it was kind of like, I know it was like Vaults at Midnight, but was that really as prolific as it was now? I
didn't find out about Vault of Midnight until I met you, I think, and even a few years after even. So no, I agree. And that's why I think although I wasn't as into, like, I got away from playing Magic the Gathering, I would always thank Magic the Gathering for the group of friends that I have, because you're right. It was like everybody was playing Pokemon, and then they were playing Yu-Gi-Oh! But Magic the Gathering had always been around, like, even before that stuff. Yeah. And it was actually even further back. I was a super little kid. I had a friend who lived across the street from me. He had this older kid, you know, the older kid across the street who was like, in retrospect, I was like, oh, that kid was a dork. in the best way. In the best way, though. Like tomato red hair down to his shoulders, Coke bottle glasses, covered in acne. Just the greatest looking nerd. I loved this kid. Yeah. But he was super into Magic, and basically he was like our guru of nerd stuff, and so he came by and we were playing Yu-Gi-Oh on the outside porch one day, and he was like, no, let me show you, and he brought over a pizza box full of Magic cards and changed our lives. And so that's how I got into that. And so honestly, I think that I probably wouldn't have gone into D&D because I just wouldn't have had the niche group of friends that I did, you know, because I feel like the Yu-Gi-Oh people, they just kind of moved on like to like video games and stuff. I feel like they weren't the kind of people that moved into further, because not only did we do Dungeons and Dragons, but that kid who showed us Magic also showed us LARPing. And so I did LARPing before Dungeons and Dragons. I was making foam swords outside before I did Dungeons and Dragons.
I definitely can say I was that kid who like went from like Pokemon cards to like I had an NES. Like I remember playing the original 8-bit Mario, whatever. I had a big old gray Game Boy, whatever. So like for me, I think video games are always more prolific in my life over like card games, but I think like from a collector standpoint, like you just said too, the art of it got me. Like finding the Japanese Charizard versus like we used to buy Pokemon cards from the ice cream truck, which I now know was a huge scam because they would give you like full holographic cards that were like, wait a minute, this plastic's peeling off. And, like the bootleg Pokemon cards that are out there and exist are just amazing. But like I was a collector at the time.
Go back.
What's up?
New episode topic. I'm sorry, you were buying Pokemon cards from an ice cream man?
Yeah.
Did you buy Pokemon cards from an ice cream man?
No, absolutely not. But I was lucky with like growing up in Ann Arbor. Is like there was always like a novelty like gaming store. So like I could just go to like a Vault at midnight and just get Pokemon cards. So no, what was going on in California?
Wait,
what? Okay, so I didn't expect this to be the thing, but
it is now.
Yeah, no, ice cream trucks.
Yeah, you know, Pokemon cards.
Ice cream trucks would sell Pokemon cards, and now like it's funny because like they weren't legit at all, but you would like
so they made their own.
They would either get them from somewhere or they made their own. I don't really know how it happened, but you'd have to like try like half of like Pokemon card gathering when I was a kid was figuring out reals from fakes. You could tell from how they were painted. You could tell by the card thickness. You could tell by the coloration on the back if you could see through it or not. And for me, like growing up, like doing art, I really enjoyed like the art. Like I watched the TV show. Like I had Pokemon Yellow. I had a Pikachu that wouldn't evolve because he's a little dick. Like you know everyone, all that stuff. And then like you know, people get in fights over Pokemon cards at school. Like. If they steal holographics from people and get into fights and everything, it was absolutely nuts.
I remember that vaguely.
So like for us, our main source of cards, because people's parents honestly couldn't afford to necessarily go to. I don't know if Pokemon cards were sold at Target at that time. That's the thing,
right? Yeah, you had to go to like hobby shops and stuff to get like booster packs.
I don't know where else I would get them from at that time period, but we would get packs from like the ice cream truck would come through, and we would know which ice cream truck had the good packs versus the bad packs and that kind of thing. But yeah, I didn't know that was.
That's so funny.
But you could tell too, like if your holographic was like peeling off too early, like oh, this is a fake, blah blah, or if the whole thing's holographic, you're like oh, it's a fake, but it looked cool. But it's
that's like the kid version of buying like a loose cigarette from a liquor store. Let me get a Charizard, dude. I know you got some.
And they would jack the price up, like you know, we'll give you a free ice cream if you pay $10 for this card, and it's like
what?
Yes.
That's like selling like sports tickets on eBay. Like it's $100 T-shirt, but the tickets are free.
It was bad.
That's so funny. I've never heard that, but they're fake cards. That's so funny.
And I don't think any ice cream truck vendor in LA at the time had any real cards.
Right.
And like, you know, I would always try to get like my Ninja Turtle, like bubblegum ice cream and a Pokemon card. And that was just like always the thing. They'd have a whole like sleeve of, a folder you could flip through and like pick a card you wanted to buy.
That's so funny.
And it was just
crazy.
Yeah.
That's like I just try to think of all the different comparisons. That's so funny. I've never heard of anything like that.
Is there? I'm gonna regret asking this question. Did you say OnlyFans?
Did I just say OnlyFans?
Yeah, were you asking me?
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I was gonna say, like, I don't know if there's an OnlyFans
He's
for
got it
Pokemon
on the
cards,
brain.
but now that there's an OnlyFans for well, there's a museum that has an OnlyFans because they got banned for posting like the old school art
Oh, that's really funny,
on
actually.
Instagram. It's like, well, screw it. We want to take the proceeds and like,
Really?
yeah, because it got flagged for nudity, and it's like, okay, it's not,
Right,
it's
right. 'Cause it's like
classical art.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
That's a good statement to make.
You know, just I got to get your Sistine Chapel.
That's right.
I'm a real fan of that.
So, by the way, it's still recording.
Sistine Chapel.
Oh, Sistine Chapel. Really good. This is what happens when you invite another person with ADHD on the podcast.
Oh,
Dude,
We're talking about
it's
stealing
so
Pokemon
bad.
cards out of ice cream trucks.
Recent diagnosis. I'm still like figuring it out.
I'm probably running about 1.5 years at this point.
Yeah, I think we're about the same time. It was like COVID. I was like, oh, I'm not doing any work.
I you know what's funny for me? I was at work and I put a tool down somewhere and I was like, something's wrong. I can't remember where I put this tool. And through my diagnosis, I realized that part of the reason why I kept taking high risk jobs was because of my safety or my life was in danger. It forced me to focus.
The high pressure.
Had no idea.
Yeah.
I just figured I would better under chaos because I'm just that badass.
Yeah.
I'm that cool. And like, even now I still, like doing that kind of stuff, but not like necessarily, the risk of actually dying from
Right.
it. Yeah. Now back to rolling for initiative.
Yeah, so what was your...
That's right. That's what we're talking about.
What was your first campaign like? So the first one that you like actually led, what
That
was
I
it?
ran?
Yeah. Was it a pre-made? Was it one that you like came up with?
So again, the pre-made. So this goes into me having severe ADHD.
Yeah.
I was always so against pre-written campaigns because I was like, no, that's too much for me to ingest. I need to be able to make things up off the top of my head, or else I can't do it. And that was why I was always so scared of being a DM. I was like, way too much for me to keep track of. I can't focus. I'm a master procrastinator. It's just too much.
Yeah.
And so the first one I made, I had the intent of basically like, I'm going to make this so that I have to do as little work as possible because I'm going to make this work for me. So I made a world map, and it's funny because I actually just stole an unused continent from a different friend's campaign that I had been in a year earlier. So like we had been, he made a map that had, it was like 7 continents on it, and we only went to like 4 during the campaign. So I just like took a random one that's shape I liked and just was like, can I use this? And he's like, yeah. So I just blew it up and just marked territories in it, and that's what I used. And then I basically just set it up like a little like a Bethesda game map where I basically, you just make the world map and then you just pick like 20 locations on it where stuff is going to happen, and that's how I set it up. And what's funny is it was actually after a huge move. I had just moved from Michigan to Denver, and so I was playing with all new people I had never met before.
Yeah.
And so it was even more pressure to be like, I told all these people I could do this, and now it's time to deliver.
Yeah.
So going along with high pressure situations, I feel like that's kind of my DM safe spot is the 4 hours before the game starts is when I get most of my DM prep done.
Yeah.
Because it's just high pressure, and that's where I thrive the most.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first campaign, I made it up. And honestly, in my opinion, it was super problematic.
Okay. Let's get into that.
A lot of like just like random like a lot of like among with the problems that people are talking about now that I agree with, where it's like, hey, it's a fantasy world that everybody wants to enjoy and be a part of. Let's not put things in there like racism and
it's
there's
so
no
crazy.
reason.
Like looking back,
or forced slavery of the characters. Like you all wake up and you're enslaved. It's like, there's no reason.
it's so crazy looking at some of the old like pre-mades from like 3.5 and earlier. Like, I mean, I guess it's just like that goes with everything. Like with all art, you realize like how fucked up a lot of that stuff was, and like I do like the way they seem to be correcting. Wizards of the Coast seems to be like realizing some of the fucked up
In their
stuff.
own corporate pace.
You're right. I don't mean to like simp for a capitalist like fucking company, but like
they're definitely one of the better companies, I guess, that are faced with these challenges.
it seems like they're adjusting well. Like I know there was like, I think this was like right when COVID hit. They were like, was the thing like wheelchair users that like within like dungeons and stuff like that. They were like addressing that. I thought that was like kind of.
Well, so somebody made a battle chair. Somebody homebrewed it, and then they used it on a really famous podcast called Critical Role. And so like there was a big uproar from the weird right-wing sector of tabletop fans, which is just like,
awesome.
Go away.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't belong here.
That's amazing that exists.
Oh, it exists. Never underestimate awful people's ability to infiltrate every space.
Correct. Yeah. It's just if I think of a of a group of less threatening people with strong beliefs, that has to be on my list of like top 5. We didn't know they existed, but I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think some of the gnarliest, like gross thinking people are in the D&D scene and the Star Wars fandom. Dude, there are some weirdos, like some mean-spirited people in the Star Wars fandom.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until the new trilogy came out. And I was like, they started like attacking the actress. I can't remember her name, the Asian actress, when
both
episode 8. Yeah, both of them. Yeah, Finn and her. It's like, oh my God, it's a movie.
Yeah, John Boyega still blames the fandom for why his character wasn't like brought up, like made to be the main at the end.
Yeah, he was removed from all of the marketing in China. They cut him out of the posters. Like they completely neutered his character in episode 9. Like it's horrible. Yeah, it's gross.
D&D, it's different but the same, because it always is. Where it's like in my games, I like to, and that's how I played it with your games, how I explained it to you. I was like, all right, my world is basically a melting pot. If you want to have pointy ears and a tail and spikes coming out of your back, you can. Pick whichever race in the book like you want your actual stats to reflect, but how you look, it's how you want to look. It's your fantasy. It's your character.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was weird that they called them like races and stuff. Which then there's also humans, but you can be an Asian human or you can be a black human. But yet then there's still like race. I'm like, why do you call it species or culture? Or, I don't know.
They caught themselves and didn't know how to rectify it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like
we used
that, like,
the Tolkien method and it got us in a hole.
Human race is the we're all humans. That's the race. That's the species.
Yeah.
Learn some science. But then I can already hear the whole, well, that's not my race. All right.
No.
You fucking lizard, whatever.
Yeah, Alex Jones is having a field day at
there
that.
You go. Well, in D&D, it's even more apparent. It's like obviously.
Well, it is crazy thinking of like, even like alignments between races. It's like, man, that feels like it could be. Oh,
that's weird. Yeah, I don't use alignments at all. I think alignments are I think alignments can be detrimental to somebody that's like learning how to not play the game, but learning how to role play.
Yeah, it feels like it kind of pigeonholes you, right? Like when I think of like my first games, I was like, well, these roles are typically this alignment, so you have to act this way in any situation.
Yeah.
I'm like, but that's not really fun. Like I'm just looking to like grow as a character and explore what that looks like, and if that aligns with, chaotic, good, whatever, like that's fine. But like it feels kind of weird. And I want to say, like, so this session that you've been running that I'm a part of, you've created this world yourself. It's really cool, and that's what I want to get into next. Is
that
this
one
world
I made
that you
up.
built?
That's not stolen from
you actually made that up.
I actually drew the map.
No, it's super cool. So like, when you came to us and you're like, I want to run this campaign, and then you sent us this Google Doc that like describes this world you've built. One, I was blown away, but two, getting back to like the racing, you're like, there's not really like races. Like everyone's just kind of like, they are what they are. If you want to have like pointed ears, and that was the first time where I was like, oh, this is cool. I really like this. Like I'm just like, I am what I am, and I'm just in this world, and we're reacting to whatever the conflict is. And I just thought that was a really great idea. That was like the first time I've ever experienced that. So kudos to that. But like, let's get into New Hara and like that world that you've
Okay. Yeah.
I would love to.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think to add on to that just a tiny bit is it's and you'll find out later on as we move through the campaign, but there's reasoning behind me saying that, and I promise I'm not just like whitewashing over it, being like, no, there's never race, everything's fine, everybody's cool, everybody's just super happy-go-lucky.
How dare you?
I know, right? Exactly. I'm not erasing anything.
We brought you here to cancel you.
Yeah.
It's a world where a lot of things have happened throughout history, and it's a world where the people currently interacting in it, which is your characters, they don't necessarily know where in history they are. And I don't mean that in a time traveling sense. I just mean that in a like, the stuff we have built is pretty old, but also we keep finding stuff that seems to be even older, stuff like that. So it seems like there's a lot more that's gone on in this world than the mass populace knows about.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of reasoning for the homogenization of almost everybody in it.
Yeah. So what was the inspiration for the world? What was
I have this on the tip of my tongue. It's Treasure Planet. The movie
really?
Treasure Planet was the inspiration for this campaign because I love that cartoon.
Hell yeah.
The campaign doesn't take place in space, and there's no flying pirate ships or anything, but just that like the roaming free, just like on the cusp of some kind of industrialization, but there's still tons of mystery and magic and all sorts of creatures. But then people have robotic arms, but then there's also frog people walking around and stuff. It's such a cool atmosphere.
It's amazing. Yeah. No, please go on.
I think it's one of the most underrated movies. Also, Treasure Planet. I remember actually Calvin took the question out of my mouth of what place where I inspired this, and then when you said kind of that mix of enough to have robotic what is the word called when you prosthetics, but still just kind of a world of fantasy. One of my biggest things about lore and history and whatever is that I feel around industrial revolutions are a lot when we lost a lot of the magic of storytelling, because a lot of it became about efficiency, steam, power, output, things like that, which is still, you still have legends and stuff like that, but I feel a lot of that mysticism we used to have, connection to whatever, and the fun of it kind of went away with sludge pollution and everything else that came in with that.
Also just high-speed travel.
Oh yeah.
It's there's no mystery of what's over there because I can be over there in a few days.
Right. Yeah.
Unless you go to the Bermuda Triangle.
True that.
That's true.
It's still pretty freaky. I don't care how well we figured out whatever magnetic poles do what. That's still crazy.
I mean, I'm still all about those things, all of that stuff, cryptids and everything, Bigfoot and everything. I am 100% for that stuff, the mystery or the legends around those being kept alive.
When I was in Frankenmuth a couple weeks ago, and there was a T-shirt that said a picture of Bigfoot with sunglasses, and it said hide and seek champ since 1886.
That's perfect. That's a perfect tourist T-shirt to grab. That's like a Jersey Boardwalk shirt for sure.
Yeah. You mentioned before that you are starting out wanting to keep things kind of not super scripted and planned until the first 4 hours before you get started the campaign. Mm-hmm. Now that you're kind of seasoned, you feel more comfortable, especially since you do things with Twitch and live when you do things live. Mm-hmm. Do you still kind of run that way, or do you have more of a flow of how you want things to kind of have an endpoint, or what's your build process now?
I'm all over the place, honestly, and on purpose too. So the current campaign that I'm running with Calvin is when I moved to Denver, I ran that campaign for maybe half of a year, and then COVID hit. And during COVID, we shut the campaign down because that's when I was I was in it, and that's when I was oh, this is kind of problematic. Some of the themes I'm touching on, I don't really want to touch on anymore. I'm not I'm not the hero I thought I was. I'm not making a statement. This is just a couple friends from the bar. I don't need to be trying to change their outlooks on society. So I scrapped it. And that's when I went into deep dungeon prep mode, where I built this Treasure Planet inspired world from the ground up. And I literally watched Treasure Planet one night, and I was man, 5e would be cool, but lasers and all that kind of stuff. That, and then also there's another Wizards of the Coast addition to Dungeons and Dragons 5e that's called Eberron, and it's basically a whole nother setting. So get real in depth here. Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition takes place in the Forgotten Realms. All of the books are written in a way that they want you to set the games you're running for your party in a place called the Forgotten Realms. And more importantly, on, I believe it's a continent called Faerun. And it's like super, super basic Lord of the Rings fantasy, Dungeons, Dragons, magic, swords, shields, wizards, stuff like that. Eberron is more like Treasure Planet-y, more steampunky. There's cities with skyscrapers. There's artificers who have like robot companions. There's warforged who are just robot characters that you can play as. And it's all about like pulling off heists, committing political intrigue, all that kind of stuff. And that is also where I took like a lot of my mechanical inspiration from for the world. Yeah.
You mentioned mechanical inspiration, which leads me to my next question. How do you, as a DM, restrict how meta your players can get?
Meta in what way?
Like, how much real life can they bring into their character to where you're like, well, your character wouldn't necessarily know this based on XYZ? So the way that, and this is the thing about that I actually pride myself in my DMing style, is that I look at it less like playing a game and look at it more like writing a story, where we're all writing a story together, but more so just because, fun fact, me and Calvin went to the same film school. What?
Yeah.
Drop a mic for Spec Tower.
You remember?
Oh, he knows.
Hell yeah. So with just a film-oriented mind, I like to think of playing Dungeons and Dragons as being in a writer's room. So basically, we're all writing a TV show. The goal is not for you to win. The goal is not for me to kill you. The goal is for us to get picked up. Our show needs to stay on the air. And so basically, I'm in charge of writing the setting and all of these side characters. You are all each in charge of writing for one main character. So if what you're doing contributes to the show being better, go for it. I don't care how meta you get with it.
That's a really cool approach to it, actually.
Thank you.
And one actually super unique. I've never heard anyone like look at it that way.
I think that's got to be like one of the best like pitches, as far as like if you wanted to get somebody that doesn't normally play like a tabletop game or gaming in general. I think the idea of like just telling a story or being in a writer's room and like building a character, that has to be like one of the best ways to get somebody into it. Like that's got to be like the best pitch. Like it doesn't have to be this like, because I've had DMs, and I'm sure you have too, and you as well, like they're like super rulesy to the point where it like kind of kills the fun. Like they're just not gonna let you do anything if it goes against any of the rule books. Like it. And I get there's like certain stuff you have to follow. It kind of goes back to your like thing of like there has to be like consequences to the actions you're doing, and I'm all for that. But like to be like such a stickler that like you can't do something that feels a little weird, like that just kind of like kills the fun of it. So I think that's like the best descriptor of like what tabletop role playing is. It's like you're in a writer's room telling a story. You want to like tell the best possible story you can and have your character grow within that in like the most interesting way possible.
And the dice are the executives.
Yeah.
It's like, I think my character would unlock this door. Corporate says that it would be way more funny and interesting if you failed miserably at unlocking said door. Sorry that we got to go with what they're saying up top.
Taking the approach of looking at it from a writer's room, and since you both have film history going to school together, what in recent history, aside from Treasure Planet, since you've already referenced it, in a live-action format, do you feel captures a world that you'd envisioned well with your playstyle?
What's it called? Actually, it's funny because me and my original, my daddy DM, Evan, we're just talking about
what's going on, Evan. We're just hanging out here, looking on the couch, with some not so Oreos, looking for a daddy DM.
So me and him were just talking about it. I forget what it's called. It's like a stupid. It's not stupid. I'm not making fun of anything. It's like a dime a dozen show too. But the world was so cool. It's like Lock and Key or Skeleton Key.
Lock and Key.
Not Lock and Key though. No? I'm so sorry. Oh. It's this fantasy show. It's this Key and Bone and Key. Bone and Steel. It's the one where there's like this big black storm, like energy, dark energy
I was gonna say,
wall.
Zach's nickname in high school.
It was.
Big black energy.
Rest in peace.
I don't know.
It was just a Netflix show. I know that the dude in it, like the big dude in it, was the guy who played the bad guy in the Punisher series.
Oh, okay.
And he was like the only big person in it that I really recognized.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, but it was like, so basically it's a country where some time ago some weird dark wizard like made this giant wall of dark energy that spanned the entire country. And basically, and inside of it, there's like a bunch of like dark, evil creatures lurking and stuff.
Oh, shit.
And so it basically is about how that's affected like the politics of this country because they can't get to the other half of their own country. You know, so like they have to have all these weird allyships with other countries so that they can cut through there to get to the other side of theirs.
Yeah.
But more importantly than that part of it, part of the series took place in this like little like pirate style, like remember the Fable video games, like Fable 2 style town with like buildings that are like tall and kind of like crooked and stuff. And it's all about this group of 4 criminals just pulling off jobs. And I was like, that is it. This is a D&D game waiting to happen.
Yeah.
That sounds. Oh man, we got to figure out.
Go
what
check out that
is.
show, please.
Yeah, somebody will look that up. I'll throw it in at some
Do
point.
we not Google things on this show?
No,
Is that-
feel free.
So we can Google things all day. There's
get a lot
certain
of trouble.
someone who yet to be named calls us out for Googling and not
no.
preparing. It's actually pretty funny, actually.
Is it a fan?
Fan friend? Hope
They'll
you're doing well,
understand.
Kyle. I'm not sure what you're up to right now, but
He has a child.
he does. He's busy. Be Easy Podcast, shout out. If you ever want
Yeah.
to listen to Be Easy Podcast, go check him out. All our episodes are still up on Spotify.
They're like done though, right?
Yeah, but still go check it out.
Oh no,
Yeah.
for sure, dude. Yeah, they're just not like posting
It's
regularly.
gone. It's
Well,
done.
Shuff is like
Forever.
Shuff's
Stick
been
a
traveling
fork
the
in it.
U.S. Shuff's been traveling the U.S. Like his travel podcast. He's been all over the place for like the last 2
We should have
years.
Chef on to talk about travel.
We should have someone he's been up to. Yeah,
Yeah, I would love that.
yeah. Let's do that.
Him and his partner.
Shadow and Bone is the name of the
Shadow
show.
and Bone.
Yes.
Okay. I've heard of it.
Yeah.
But it's a Netflix show.
And there's a second season coming out, I hear.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but it's a Netflix show.
But also
Yeah.
shout out Lock and Key. Love Lock and Key.
Is Lock and Key good?
The books are. I've
No
not watched
clue
the
what it
show.
is.
Is that a real show?
Yeah, so Lock and Key was a book series by Stephen King's son, Joe King.
Okay.
It's really good.
His name is Joking.
Yeah, it's not.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Is he also the one that wrote the telephone, the black telephone?
yeah. That
Okay.
that is his. Yeah, which actually wasn't. Actually, was not that bad.
Okay.
I didn't hate it.
It looked a little corny, but okay.
It is a little corny, but it's like Stephen King corny, where it's
Yeah.
like very like ethereal and like supernatural and stuff.
I just remember seeing it, and I was like, the villain can't look like that unless there's a different movie where he like got to looking like that I had already seen.
No, he's just a weird guy.
That's what I'm
That
saying.
way.
Like, you can't be like a super villain like that
Yeah.
when there's no precursor to why you're like that. You're just that guy.
Spoilers for this movie. I just want to say, like, the funniest part of that movie to me is that his brother lives with him and is like this conspiracy nut that is trying to solve his murders, his brother's murders, and they're literally happening in
Yeah,
the basement
in the
that he's
basement.
living in.
He just didn't look there.
He's just really dumb. Yeah,
Nice.
he's just
I
not.
love that.
Yeah. So series for me that I think does a good representation of D&D. Was that the question?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what's a series that, like, if you could be, like, if somebody was like, hey, I wrote a D&D session around this series.
Yeah. I think maybe just because it's like at the top of mind because I've been reading them is his Dark Materials books.
Yes, that show is very cool.
Is it? I have not watched it yet, so I wanted to read the books before I watched it.
It's very grand, a big adventure. So that's a great choice.
Yeah, the books are phenomenal. Have you heard of it before?
Heard of it, haven't watched or read it.
Okay,
I think the whole edition of like the demons would be a great like familiars in D&D.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
It feels like everyone's kind of like a druid or something like that. There's a lot of like, weapons that you have to get. I feel like there's a lot of cool quests that you could go on as part of it, and you go into different worlds, which are really
planetary travel.
Yeah, like that would be really interesting, and like there's a lot of different methods of like transportation. So like the hot air balloon would be really cool.
Yeah,
like gyrocopters and like boats and like having mounts. Like there's polar bears in the series that are like awesome fighters.
You don't have to just play as a polar bear.
Yeah, that would all. That's
or
exactly what I would do. Yeah, I would be a war bear for sure.
Right?
Yeah,
so that's great.
Your next Halloween Eve costume.
That's right.
That. That's a great idea.
Yeah, that would be super fun. I would enjoy that.
That's a good idea. Good choice.
Thank you. Well, now I need to check it. Shadow and Bone, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna check that out.
Please do.
Yeah.
What about you, Zach? And you've never played D&D before, or have you played
D&D before.
Okay, cool.
I played with some friends back home. Really awesome DM. It was my first time like really getting into it. I made my whole character sheet. That's why I wasn't sure if tonight we had to do a character sheet. And I asked about meta things because I always play a half dwarf.
Okay.
Because I like use my mechanical knowledge and history to like kind of get off what kind of things I can create to like fight things. One time I made a fire bomb out of some mead because technically, but the mead process in the time period, it totally flammable because it was unrefined and this damn spider's in my way. So
I want you at my table.
Yeah,
I want you there.
And then once we killed the spider, I asked if I could like go harvest the fangs and take the poison out because I am a crafter and I'm going to use this poison later on to f up anything that tries to get in our way. So I made a poison hammer out of like one of the fangs of the spider that came after us. So
I love that.
Yeah, roll for DPS.
I love that.
The scene I had in mind when you asked me actually has nothing to do with. It's a very specific scene. Have you seen the recent Mandalorian, like the last season, but one before Boba Fett?
I've watched 2 episodes of that show.
Fair. I will say that how in the original series the Redwoods were a big part of the California Redwoods were a huge part of like the chase scene or everything like that. So like when Lucas does
filming.
Yeah.
I was like,
sorry.
Why is that integral to the story of the California Redwoods?
When Lucas does 4 scenes, he does them really heavily.
Yeah.
So my thing that made me think about, even inspired to ask the question, was the scene when Ahsoka comes out of the fog to go fight the next to go fight the general of that.
Is it heavy?
Yeah. So like the way she appears through it, it's just the way the scene's set up reminds me a lot of it's applicable to a lot of different like play styles and stories, but like just the kind of like mesh between, you have this super forcey heavy background, but mesh with technology.
Yes.
And like that's kind of like part of what my career, as I enjoy doing, is still helping the planet, even though I really love machines and technology. So like that mix always gets me like really well, and I enjoy that. What I also enjoy is with the last 10 minutes throwing in a little cinnamon twist.
Okay.
For the two of you.
Okay.
Welcome to the Thunderdome. I am your surprise guest DM, and I am definitely making this up on the spot.
Okay.
Oh shit. Okay.
Hell yeah.
So let me set the stage for you.
Okay.
It is 1996.
I'm 3 years old.
No, not in this story. You're not.
Okay.
It's 1996. You are both in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Okay. You have to pick a character and tell me what your character can be like. There's no limit on what the character is, what you want to do. This is all you get is the timeline and the place. Tell me who you are.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
So right now, who I am, 1996 Ann Arbor.
Yeah, not even like, based on who you actually would be if you were
I know.
not born yet. Yeah,
for sure.
Yep. Give me your character, throw it in this world.
I'm going to say make me look as close to Andrew WK as possible.
Yes, the original
white
party
t-shirt,
animal.
jeans,
From
ripped
Ann
up.
Arbor.
Exactly.
Okay.
Greasy hair, not a lot of tattoos,
Okay.
but just like a few really crappy ones that look like pencil drawings on my forearms.
Okay.
Of like stick figures, like skateboarding and stuff.
Yeah.
And I would say that I work at the local record shop,
Okay.
but I work in the back. And I'm basically just like a stock boy. And then I have a band on the side. We're not playing shows yet,
Okay.
but we're getting there. We're not like a regular band. We do a lot of like noise rock. Like I do a lot of like rewiring of like tape cassettes and stuff.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And his name is Can Taki.
Kentucky. I like it. All right.
That's beautiful. Okay. My character is gonna be he's a football player. He's in high school. Total bro, but just kind of stupid. Not very in touch with the world around him, but like still like a sweet guy. Like no malice. His name's Thad.
Getting back at someone?
Yeah. Yeah. Feels too real.
Named Thad Castle from Rebound State.
Yeah. Thad Castle's my name.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah, that's me.
All right. So, 1996, Ann Arbor, Michigan. We have Thad Castle and Kentucky.
Wait, I changed my mind. Switch
Okay.
it around.
Okay.
Taki Can.
Taki Can. Okay. Got this. Taki Can and Thad Castle. So, we're going to start off with you.
Okay.
You realize, waking up playing with your band in the back stock room, you're missing a tattoo. You had one that you just gotten. You were bragging about it, and it got you free drinks at the bar the previous night. It's no longer there. What's your first move to try and find it?
I think I reach around to see if there's any open bottles of glue. Make sure I'm not just high.
Okay.
Are there any around me? Like,
No glue around you.
I'm sober.
Yep, you're sober.
All right. It's like, is my skin ripped off or is it just disappeared?
It's just not there.
It's
you
just
can still
not-
feel the sensation of a tattoo, and you know you got one.
And there's just no tattoo on
Just
my
no
skin.
tattoo on your skin.
I think I'm in the back room of the record store.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna go out to the front to see if any of my coworkers are there to see if they like remember me having the tattoo, or maybe I'm just crazy and thought I had it.
Okay. So you go out to see your manager at the top of the record shop. His name is Thaddeus, and he's like,
So
okay.
your dad?
No. He's like, okay, no, I don't really have, like, you had a tattoo, but you always have tattoos. You're always telling crazy stories. You know, I don't know what you're talking about if it's missing. Like, we should go find it. I'm just
Thaddeus,
blowing
you're
you up.
not listening to me. All right? When I went down for my 3 p.m. nap in the back, I
Yeah.
had it. When I woke up at 5, it was gone.
As you say this, and Thaddeus continues to look at you with a look of ire, you notice that Thad Castle is walking outside of the record shop with the tattoo behind his neck. That was your tattoo.
Like on his neck?
Yes.
What? I'm bolting out there. I'm bolting out there.
All right, you bolt out.
Where'd you get the tat, bro?
Do I know
You're
where?
confused. You're like, what's happening? What do you mean? What
So I don't even know that I
It's
have
like a-
one on the back of
It's
my
like a
neck.
dude, where's my car situation.
Yeah. I'm wearing my Letterman jacket. And I, like,
What is
spin-
the tattoo of?
Yeah.
Your tattoo is of Hello Kitty spanking a unicorn.
Yeah, I definitely want that back.
It's really important
Dude,
to my
I
family.
sat for 20 minutes for this.
20 minutes. I spin around. I've got my little Letterman jacket, and there's like a little flare to it. Like, don't touch me, bro. What are you talking about? What tattoo?
I want to give his back a little smack. The back goes like, hey, what's this? What's going
Is
on?
my neck like sore to the touch?
So as you smack the back of his neck, you feel your own hand being smacked.
Like where the tattoo was?
Yeah.
Oh!
Oh.
I think your neck is my arm, bro.
Are you high right now?
I thought that too. Turns out no. I checked.
Tad Castle needs a little more convincing because he's a strong Christian athlete and has
Right.
no reason to ever get a tattoo. If he had a tattoo, he'd be disowned by his family, have to turn in his Letterman jacket for a numerical jacket, and join the math camp.
We don't have camera phones. I can't show it to you. No! I'm going to drag him into the store to get him in like into the. No, he can't see it in the bathroom. Yeah, I'm gonna drag him to my manager. I'm gonna drag him to Thaddeus and be like, "What's on his neck?"
Thaddeus is confused about why you dragged a random high school kid into the record shop and tells you to go home and sober up and kicks you out of the shop.
Can I ask him if they're related real quick before?
You can.
Please do. Please do.
You ask if they're related.
He's like, "Don't ever talk to me or my son again."
He just tells you to sober the hell up and get out of the shop.
Oh man, this is going south. All right.
I say, isn't there like a what do they call it? Like a developing room at the high school? Like, could we go and like take a photo of the back of my neck?
I'm not allowed at the high school anymore, but
What happened?
I promise it wasn't kid related. It was drug related. All right.
The fact that you have to say that it wasn't kid related makes me think it's kid related.
But also, there's probably like a film developing place. It's the 90s. They're everywhere. They're on every corner. We just go to a CVS.
Is there one nearby?
We have to buy a camera, take a picture, and then wait like an hour for it to get developed.
I feel like at this point I believe you.
Knowing right now that you're on Liberty Street and 5th, you know that there is a photo development store around the corner. But still, you have to find a way to convince Tad Castle to go with you, because right now you just assaulted him, tried to drag him into a store, and he's still confused about why you slapped him in the back of the head.
I've got practice, bro.
New plan. Do you have any other tattoos anywhere on your body?
Do I?
You do not.
I don't.
So given the description of myself I've given you, would you say that I most likely have some kind of sharp weapon on me?
Besides your wits and overall penchant for wanting to party and smash things,
Yeah.
I would say you probably have you have an X-Acto knife.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly
open
what
this
you
box.
would have.
Here we go.
What are you doing with
Hold
that?
still.
What are you doing with
I don't know if
that?
I need to roll a strength check, but I'm going to hold him down. I'm not going to take off the whole thing, just a little bit of the ink so
Honestly,
you can see.
realistically, you would have to roll a strength check if it was anyone else, but as you are the embodiment of the party animal in 1996, your strength is a little bit unbridled, and you kind of roll for like +6 for that.
Oh, perfect.
And he's still a high school kid. He has a Letterman jacket, but we don't know what his position is. He could just
He's a kicker.
suck.
I am a kicker. That's true.
Oh,
That's true.
Thad tries to kick you.
I roll in that one.
I just want to shave off a little bit of the ink so that he can
screaming.
see. Yeah.
Screaming because he starts to feel it.
Oh no!
Oh no. Okay.
Well, can I still get some off?
Thad is confused as to why he doesn't feel the pain.
Can I still get some off then?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to take off a little bit and just be
Yeah.
like, there's my tattoo, but it's my arm. I feel it.
I'm like super freaked out by
Yeah.
this. Like I don't get like tattoos. That's like weird to me. Where did you get this tattoo?
Do I remember where I got the tattoo?
You don't get the tattoo. You were sober the entire time. Despite your party animal antics, you had no reason to have been like obliterated during this tattoo.
So
you
it's new.
enjoy the pain, and you got a semi from watching little kitty start to appear as she slaps a unicorn.
Wait, what? Say that last part again?
Yeah, wait. I need What did you say?
In my best announcer voice. You wanted to be sober for this because the sight of a little kitty appearing on your arm during the tattoo process, slapping a unicorn, gave you a semi, and you wouldn't want to miss that.
Right,
Okay, I heard that,
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
man.
Also, why you're not allowed in high school.
Who gave it to me then?
Well, you're on 5th and Liberty. At that current time, I believe there were 3 tattoo shops in Ann Arbor. So, you have to trace your steps. Find receipts in your pocket. Do you have receipts in your pocket? Roll
Okay.
for receipts in your pocket.
Okay. I don't have a dice. Do you want me to pick a number?
Yes.
20.
And yet, you find receipts for, I don't want to actually incriminate any tattoos places around here because they're all great.
You can name a real place.
Let's just say,
Let's think of one that's gone out of business.
This is the Records Rim
Okay.
tattoo
The
shop.
Records Rim. I love that because it's right next door to a record shop.
Right
It's
there.
great. All right, so I think it's at this Records Rim place. I'm pretty sure we get a discount there for working here, which is why I went there.
Okay, let's go talk to them. Cause
Hey man, I just want to say I know you don't have a lot to go on, so I really appreciate you just going all in on this whole tattoo thing.
yeah, no worries, man.
Thanks for helping me out.
I'm a big fan of
I
party.
was just like bleeding.
I'm a big fan of Party Hard. It's really great.
Party.
What?
Oh no, that's not me. I'm Taki. I get that I look like him a lot though.
Oh, okay.
Let's go.
All right.
I need to start going before you can question that anymore.
You arrive at Records Rim only to find that it's mysteriously closed. And with that, my friends, this tale rolls into a part 2 because we have hit our time for this episode of This Podcast is for Nerds. Thank you very much for coming on and joining us today.
Yeah.
Thank you for enjoying not enjoying my sim and twist, but letting me be your DM daddy for about 10 or so minutes. I didn't plan any of this. I said I had a twist, and I didn't.
That was good.
That was fantastic.
That was good
loved
improv.
that.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I think you guys are just like both so good at improv. That's why I wanted you guys to meet. So I'm excited for us to play at some point and maybe have you come back on.
Hell yeah.
To do a session.
I'd love to.
Before we leave and close, though,
Yeah.
talk up your next
Yeah.
project.
Yeah. Promote your stuff.
Yeah. So coming up sometime within the next few months, I want to start my own podcast of just doing one shots of just role playing games, whether we make it up ourselves or we do systems that are already established. Yeah, and I would love to have you guys on for a few episodes of that as well.
Do you have what's your Twitch handle for like when you go live and stuff like that?
So not on Twitch. I am on Instagram, which I'll be posting that stuff. So if you go to 20_side, that's all my. I do like homemade terrain for Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, and you can find all my stuff on there. And I'll definitely be posting all the info for future projects on there as well.
Awesome. Yeah. So make sure you follow Paul.
Wait, can I do? One thing I really like that you guys did on your early episodes, the whole local shout out. Can I do one of those?
Please.
Okay. So there's this place in Ann Arbor called Sylvan Factory, and it is fairly new. It was like early last spring that it opened, but it is just a game store that is... I've never met a game store ran by cooler people. They just really love D&D and board games, and they love the community. And not only is it a store where you can buy D&D stuff, you can buy board games, you can buy cosplay stuff. Like they have a bunch of like Ren Fair clothing and stuff there.
Awesome.
But then they also have a whole back room where you can just show up, and they have like open board game nights. They have nights where dungeon masters come in and teach people how to be dungeon masters. They have all kinds of crap going on. That place is awesome, and I just really want to see it keep going.
We should go see if we can record an episode there.
That would be really cool.
That would be a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, so make sure you stop by there. What's the name of it again?
Sylvan Factory.
Awesome. All right, cool. Well, thank you, everyone. Take care.
And now for my next number, I'd like to return to the classics.